So, have you ever injured yourself? Yeah, probably. Dumb question, right? Have you ever injured yourself to the point where even after you healed, you still felt that injury, I don't know, a month, a year, 10 years down the line, and you could have sworn you were healed? Like every time it rained, you could feel it in the injury? Yeah? So have I. I have tons of them. Well, if you have said yes to that question, then this video is for you. We're going to talk about protecting old injuries while exercising today. Check it out. On, beautiful people, and welcome back to Hustling and Healing. For those of you just joining me, my name is Bree and I'm the creator of this channel. For those of you coming back, welcome back. It is Wednesday. What? We're halfway there, fam, which means it's Wellness Wednesday. It's Wellness Wednesday. It's Wellness Wednesday. And today we're going to be talking about protecting old injuries while exercising. If you're anything like me, you have a ton of them. I played several sports growing up. Soccer, I swam, I played basketball, I played tennis, I ran track, I played rugby in college. Like, there are all these different exercises, and I weightlift, and all these different exercises and sports I did. And of course, I've gotten some injuries over the years. I have had several tears in my knees, strained my shoulder, a mess. Like, so much so that when it rains, I can tell when it's gonna rain because I can feel the pressure drop in my old injuries, like in my shoulder and in my knee. So I always have a problem exercising whenever it's around those times because it just swells up and it's just uncomfortable and it's painful. But the grind never stops, so I had to find ways to protect those old injuries, and I'm going to talk to you about a couple of them. So let's dive right into it. The first one is wear a brace. So this right here is a traditional, like, old school sleeve brace, and it's for my knee. It's a pretty light impact brace, and it's made by copper, and I wear that on my knee, not when I'm going to do rigorous exercise, but like when I'm walking around or if I'm at work, if my knee's giving me an issue. So wearing a brace, that's one way of protecting your old injury while exercising. Second one is using athletic wrap or KT tape. So I have this wrap, which is kind of like a hybrid of a brace and a wrap because you wrap it to make a brace. And I use these when I'm squatting, like especially really heavy weights, because it's rough and my knees are already those of like a 75-year-old, so I want to make sure I can protect it but still hit those gains. Another option is KT tape, kinesiology tape, as you can see, and it is a tape that wraps around the muscle or the joint that you're trying to protect, to give you a little extra support. So that's the second way. The third way is making sure that you treat it with either heat if it's muscle stiffness, or pain, or ice if it is an acute injury or if it's inflamed. So again, heat if it's muscle stiffness or pain, and ice if it is an acute injury or inflammation. And that is to help you kind of just get mobility back in that injury, and to prevent it from re-injuring yourself or injuring it further. So I always recommend ice baths if you're having anything inflamed. As you can see in like all the TV shows and in real life, a lot of athletes will take ice baths, or they'll take really, really hot baths or showers to kind of help with that stiffness of the muscles, or to help with the inflammation. Depending on what it is, will depend on the temperature of the water or the ice. But you get it. So moving on to the next one, we're going to just talk about how you can modify your exercises for that injury. So you want to make sure that you modify it so you're not putting too much strain on that old injury, especially if it's a relatively new one, because you don't want to re-injure yourself. And if you re-injure yourself, one, it could take longer for you to fully heal. Two, you may end up being like me where, yeah, you're healed, but you can still feel that injury several years later. And you don't want to make it worse than what it already is. So you want to make sure that you modify exercises. So like if you can't do, I don't know, a full lunge, maybe do a modified lunge. Or if you can't, and maybe you have a rotator cuff issue and you can't do full body planks, maybe drop down to your knees. Things like that. Small modifications. You can find modifications for literally any exercise on Google. Google's your best friend. And definitely go from there. And that leads into our final one, and that is finding exercises to re-strengthen that area so that you can lessen the injury, basically, or the impact of the injury it has over time. So that injury may not 100% heal, but you can definitely strengthen the area around it so that it doesn't restrict you as much as it has in the past. So one thing I do for my rotator cuff, which I did in PT, my physical therapy, when I got the injury in college, is I have to do like those windmills back and forward and back and forward. And I do that every time before I do shoulders, before I do back exercises, arms, anything that's going to have to do with my shoulders. I want to make sure I do that to loosen it up. And I do it daily so I can make sure I can keep those muscles from fatiguing earlier on in my workout than when I need them to. So making sure that you find exercises that will rebuild that area and strengthen that area up, or the muscles around it to kind of support that area, is also good for when you're exercising with old injuries, because then you don't have to worry about, you still have to worry about like restraining it or something like that, but then you don't have to worry about as much. And always make sure that your form is good, things along those lines. Make the modifications, as we said, if necessary, so that you don't re-injure yourself and re-hurt yourself. But those are some ways to exercise with old injuries. Again, support is your best friend. So if you want to wear a brace, or you wrap the injury with KT tape or a general athletic wrap, you want to make sure you do that. You want to make sure you treat it with ice or heat, depending on what the injury is, before and or after you work out, depending on what your preferences are. And make sure you modify your exercises and rebuild up that area so that you can get it back to that mobility, or very close to that mobility that you once originally had. So again, if it's something super serious, I do recommend seeing a physical therapist. Again, I'm not a physical therapist. These are just based on my personal experiences with old injuries. Again, I've had rotator cuff injuries and knee injuries, but those are some things that have helped me protect my old injuries while I'm exercising, because again, the grind doesn't stop. So I want to make sure that I can still grind out without also re-hurting myself or re-injuring myself. So that's today's video: protecting yourself with protecting your old injuries while exercising. I cannot speak today. Protecting your old injuries while exercising. So that's it. Thank you so much for tuning into this Wellness Wednesday. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe, and hit that bell down there. If you're interested in my content and other content that I post on Monday, Wednesday, and Sunday, hustling, wellness, and healing, respectively. So that will be playing right now as I speak. And finally, if you're interested in following me on other forms of social media, I am on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and of course YouTube, which I'm sure you're watching this video on. So I hope you enjoyed that video. If you have any questions, drop it in the comments. If you liked it, drop it in the comments. Didn't like it, drop it in the comments. Anything to add, you know where to go. Drop it in the comments. So thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have a wonderful Wednesday, and I will see you on Sunday for Self-Love Sunday. Bye, y'all.